So next up, we have Herman Smit, Nedbank's behavioral economist, and he will be giving us some interesting insights into cognitive behavior. Herman, thank you so much for being with us today. We're really looking forward to what you've got to say, and I hand over to you.
Thank you, Trevor, and to the viewers today. This is an exciting topic and a new domain which has emerged in the field of behavioral economics. For 50 years, the field of behavioral economics has been looking into how biological processes in cognition work, talking through kind of like various systems and biases and heuristics that we have. And the last couple of years has just really revealed this amazing growing body of knowledge around how artificial intelligence, and particularly generative AI and agentic AI, is changing the way that we think and engage with the world. So really excited to talk today about some new research that has emerged out of Wharton University on thinking fast, slow, and artificially. Before we start this exercise or go through the theory, behavioral economists always like to do just a little bit of a cognitive exercise just to help us go into the mind and reflect. So I'd ask you, as you're looking at this, to look at the following question. Emily's father has 3 daughters, April, May, and. I don't want you to answer this out loud wherever you might be sitting, but I want you to sit just with the response that you've had. You've had mental processes take place. Different parts of your brain have fired in different ways. And I just want you to sit with that for a minute. The end answer is not the important one, but the reflection on how your cognitive processes engage during this period. And then before we jump into those processes, I want to take us to a quote by Daniel Kahneman, really the father of behavioral economics, also the first psychologist to win a Nobel Prize in economics. And he made this really bold statement at the time, something that has really been borne out in the evidence, that our thoughts and our behavior are influenced much more than we know or want by the environment of the moment. And at the time, he was talking about the choice environment that we have, the individuals that we engage with, the information that we engage with, the context in which we make information or decisions, really being the big driver of our behavior. But this moment, which we have now, is kind of this real moment in which the way that the world operates is changing due to generative AI and agentic AI. And I think that really kind of makes this comment come back to the forefront, looking how are our cognitive processes changing because of this new technology and the way that we use it. So I want to go back to the statement on Emily's dad has 3 daughters, April, May, and just reflect here on the systems that were activated. So in the traditional roadmap that Daniel Kahneman set out for us, he really spoke about 2 systems. System 1 being the fast, intuitive, and emotional system. These are biological systems. It happens in our wet brain. And the other is system 2, which is the slow, analytical, and deliberative. So system 1 is very associative. So if we see something like April, May, it automatically completes that. It's pattern recognition, associative, and it says June should be the thing that follows May. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, analytical, and deliberative. That is the one that will go, okay, like whose dad asked that question? In this case, Emily's dad. And that makes it clear that the slow, analytical, and deliberative part of the brain is searching for something beyond the patterns and the intuitive response, whereas the system 1 is very happy to go with that fast, intuitive response. And if we have to kind of paint characters for those, system 1 is often referred to as the Homer Simpson for those that have watched The Simpsons. Homer Simpson is kind of this character that goes through life influenced by its surrounding, kind of just going from the one to the next. And the system 2, very fun most of the time, system 1. And system 2, kind of the much more deliberative decision-making processes, something which is represented by Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory, or Spark for those more interested in space track. So here, these individuals kind of represented by these different characters of the brain, and those parts of the brain coming up with different responses. So over the years, we've had many studies that have looked between kind of trade-offs between system 1 and system 2. When does something bounce from system 1 to system 2? When does system 2 send it back to system 1? And what are some of kind of the behavioral and decision anomalies that we see because of the way that these two systems interact? And we've had 50 years of really great research on kind of that field and kind of how that works. But now the technology has changed that parameter. Most of us use AI on a daily basis for everything from decision making to helping writing to kind of helping us with complex tasks of evaluating different options. And in that regard, it's kind of changed the way in which cognition works, the way in which we answer questions like Emily's dad has 3 daughters. And that really brings us to a new cognitive map. And in this cognitive map, we have to start allowing for artificial thinking within kind of this chain of biological thinking. And that introduces 2 new concepts which we now need to map out and understand better. The one is cognitive offloading. So how do we give over cognitively hard tasks to artificial intelligence? And the other is, when do we cognitively surrender to artificial intelligence? So when do we give over our cognitive processes to artificial intelligence without engaging with that, with our own kind of system 2 and more deliberative thinking? And that map, I think, is very intuitive. I think if we've used AI, we know the feeling of cognitive offloading, getting it to do the hard stuff in an Excel spreadsheet or collecting all of the references for something for you to review. And we also know when either ourselves have cognitively surrendered or when we receive material from other people that have sent it on to us and we look at this and we're like, this doesn't look like the person has engaged with it. So we often talk about AI slop and other things, but those are really just outputs of individuals not properly engaging with the AI outputs and cognitively surrendering. There are other examples of cognitive offloading that's happened in the past. So think about Google Maps, for example, taking over our decisions about which routes to take from one destination to the next, but us staying in control, us deciding where we're going. We're in the car, we've got our hands on the steering wheel mostly, and we still decide where to go. Whereas cognitive surrender would be like we give over those processes, where we go, how we get there, all of those over to our artificial systems. So because Emily's dad is a bit old, I've got a new exercise that I want you to go through. If you were running a race and you passed the person in second place, what place are you in? And here, these exercises are called cognitive reflection tests, and they really are meant to help kind of measure how people move from system 1 into system 2. Here again, the answer isn't the important one, but just what's happening in your brain when you review this. If you're running a race and you pass the person in second place, what place are you in now? So these cognitive reflection tests are a fantastic basis to start looking at how we engage with artificial systems. When are we more likely to surrender? When are we more likely to offload? And when are we more likely to even use artificial systems? So Stephen Shaw, who's a postdoctoral fellow at Wharton University, did this fantastic paper where he ran several trials, randomized control trials, with up to 10,000 individuals, looking at when do these processes take place? When do we ask AI for support with cognitively difficult tasks? When are we likely to critically engage and then respond to AI output? And when are we going to surrender to AI output? So firstly, if you were wondering when you were going through Emily's dad and passing the second place runner, who gets this wrong or who gets this right? On average, 46% of individuals get these cognitive reflection tests correct. So in other words, they get the answer, system one provides them with the response, so they get this intuitive response, oh, I'm in first place, or June, and then go with that answer. That's roughly, it's more than half of the population go with that initial answer of kind of like that system one provides. And kind of like the remainder go with the system two responses, which would be Emily or second place. So that's just kind of like the base rate of how many, like in this cognitive reflection test, how many get the answer correct. Then the second question is, how many people would use artificial systems to help them with this answer? So when an AI solution was given to individuals to use, they found that more than half of the individuals would use the artificial system. So if it was available in a box, they got the question, they could use the AI as a response to it. Over half of individuals chose to use it. So that gives you a sense of when people are faced with a cognitively difficult task, how many people are willing to engage with AI systems. So given that we are all energy hungry machines, our brains use a lot of energy, and that our bodies are inclined to preserve energy. That's why we sit more than what we stand. We walk slow rather than running everywhere. Like our body is constructed to conserve energy. And when we engage with cognitively difficult tasks, which consume a lot of energy, we default to conserving energy. So using easier systems to use it. So system one, which is less energy intensive. So in this case, when we're given an AI tool for a cognitively demanding task, we're much more likely to hand that over to a cognitively capable individual, function, in this time artificial thinking, than using that yourself. So the more than 50% of individuals using it makes sense based on the theory of preserving energy and reducing the usage of system two. What then is interesting is that the scientists took the AI and divided it in half. For half of the individuals who used it, the AI response would be accurate, and for the other half, it would be faulty. And this was really to measure how do people engage with accurate versus faulty AI output. What they found is when AI output is accurate, it improved the correct responses to those cognitive reflection tasks from 46% up to 71%. So you see a huge improvement here in the performance of individuals in getting the right responses, which is really great. It shows you the power of AI to help human cognition, particularly in these blind spot situations or in areas where we're more likely to err. And that's really great if we use AI in the right use cases, in the right moments. It really has the opportunity to improve the accuracy of our judgments and our ability to engage with cognitively demanding tasks. The other half that received the faulty AI, their response rates and the accuracy declined. So it declined from 46% down to 31.5%. So you had a 14 percentage point decline in the accuracy of individuals' responses when they have faulty AI outputs. And this obviously is problematic because you've got kind of this huge decline from our natural ability, which is around 46%, down to 31 odd percentage points. So it just shows you in an environment where AI makes mistakes and there's shortcomings in its ability to deal with that task, it really has the ability to erode human judgment and make it worse. What it also shows is just kind of when people are cognitively surrendering. So here you've got this large number of people who are getting the wrong answer and just accepting that. So nearly 70% of respondents just accepting the wrong output from AI, not critically engaging with it, and just letting it go into the answer sheet. And we really need to think about that in our own lives as we engage with different decisions, understanding when are we surrendering and when are we improving our decision making through AI. The researchers also wanted to see, okay, can we change the conditions in which we do this? Can we add incentives? So in other words, if you get the right answer, you are rewarded. Will that make a difference? And the other is, if we make this time pressured, what would that change be? They also did something else, which is really interesting, is they measured individuals' confidence in the accuracy of their responses. And here it's really interesting that when individuals only use their brain for the task, their confidence level is actually fairly low. They think that their chance of them getting it wrong, that there is a chance. But when they use faulty AI, their confidence levels boost by 17 point or 11.7 percentage points. So you get this confidence boost when you use AI, even when that AI provides you with faulty responses. So that's a really important thing to note here. So not only has AI got the ability to erode the value of our judgments because we cognitively surrender to it, but we are much more confident about those responses. And that talks a little bit to how System 1 and System 2 typically interplay. System 1 pushes things over to System 2 when it notices some things that are wrong. So if you receive a document and there are formatting issues and typos in it, you're much more likely to cognitively engage your System 2, slowly, deliberately reading through it, understanding what is wrong, and then providing feedback on that, when as opposed to getting something which has this perfect copy edit, perfect response around it. So that's really important to note, that we need to find new ways of triggering our System 2 to engage in a world where AI copy is as eloquent as it is, so confident in its responses as it is, because it's going to make us feel more confident in those responses, even though they're not. If we move on to bringing money and time-bound elements into this, we do see that incentivizing it, so when there's large financial stakes, that individuals are more likely to get correct answers. But when you make things time bound, those error rates then improve or increase again. So when we're really busy, when we're really in a hurry, we're more likely to make mistakes again. So just thinking through how time and money incentives impact our ability to provide accurate responses to these types of tests, just indicate that, so they influence on our judgment. So the key question is not how do we avoid AI in our judgment and decision making, and how do we preserve our biological decision making processes. I think there's a new type of technology that's come, I think similar to the calculator, Excel spreadsheets, various things that have helped us to do much more cognitively demanding tasks over time by allowing us to offload some of the difficulties of that work. We're in an era where we've got this very powerful solution or technological advancement that can support our decision making. It is, however, really, really important to identify where these solutions can boost our judgment our decision making and ultimately improve the outcomes. Whereas where it erodes our judgments, brings out negative outcomes, but has that inverse and perverse effect of improving our judgments. So I think I'll hold off there. Trevor, I don't know if there's any questions on your end or anything else that we want to bring to the audience attention.
Herman, thank you so much for that. Really, really interesting takeouts. And I'm sure with so many people these days now on AI and Copilot and Claude, etc., they're going to take away some of your insights. Perhaps just a question and trying to bring it into reality, perhaps with quite a lot of our audience today, which will be financial advisors, wealth planners, and perhaps a few end investors. When we often see stock markets are volatile, and recently, for example, in March with the Middle East conflict, we suddenly get a drop in equity markets, people's anxiety goes up, they go on AI, they go on the internet and see what's happening, etc. And very often we see people trying to perhaps sell out their investments after it's fallen, and then conversely they buy in once it's already recovered and corrected quite quickly. Talking on your cognitive behavior, I guess, and using AI in that context, have you got any advice to perhaps, whether it's the end investor or the financial planner, on how they can ensure good behavioral reactions from investors, not to panic, not to do knee-jerk reactions, even if, for example, AI is telling them, that the world might be coming to an end?
So I think within the financial sector, we spend a lot of time building trust with whoever we're engaging with in the value chain. If that's the end clients or the fund managers or wherever we are, we build trust. And that trust is a really important pillar that we have at the moment. And I think that's going to be the difference between individuals believing the eloquent outputs from these generative AI models, whichever the ones they might use, versus engaging critically with their financial advisors or with the institutions that they work closely with to create that value and maintain that value for shareholders or clients over time. And that's really something that we need to double down on in the financial sector. Generative AI lives in a new world. What regulates it is by no means as comprehensive and as well considered as the financial sector. So when the individuals that we work with engage with those outputs and come to us and use it as justifications to buy or sell or diversify in some way, it's important that we understand that, yes, they're receiving something which is well articulated, something which is probably timely, something that spent listening to various concerns that they might have, which they might not have felt comfortable asking you when they come with those outputs. Then you have the trust in terms of the regulated institution which has to act in the interest of your client. And I think that's really what we need to double down on in the financial sector when we look at the role that we have in customers that are augmented in their decision making. Where do we step in and support? And I think the other area that's also very important is at the moment, AI does not act on behalf of the client. So in the financial sector, we put ourselves in the position to help our clients go through on their intentions. So they might have intentions to grow their investments or to save more money or to pay back their credit, whatever those might be within the broader financial sector space. They form those intentions, and as financial institutions, we have mechanisms to help them achieve those intentions. And AI at the moment can't do that for our clients. So really relying on those tools and structures that we have in play to help our clients not only form good intentions, and AI can help with intention formation, and we can it can augment the type of engagements that we have, but also really to help them realize that value. And very often that is conversations like, yes, the stock market is down now, but you indicated that you're taking a long-term view, like your investment horizon is X, Y, and Z. Like remind them about their intentions, be their trusted hand, to take them through that process.
Great, Herman. Thank you. I think that's sound advice. And once again, thank you so much for making the time to speak to us today. Really interesting and certainly topical.